UFC 324 fight week and the Paramount era is officially underway. It's taking place tomorrow. Sorry for the late video. I had some personal matters going on, but we're here. We got our prediction video for UFC 324, and it's a great card. It's stacked. Kind of lacking at the top. No undisputed title fights on the line, but still a very entertaining card regardless. There's going to be a lot of sick fights. That's for sure. So we'll jump right into it. We'll start right away with the early prelim opener. That's not the early prelim opener. There it is. Adam Fugitt versus... That's just Ty Miller. I want both of them on the screen right here. Adam Fugitt versus Ty Miller. Ty Miller coming off a decision win, I believe it was, on the Contender Series. A pretty dominant one, though. One he looked pretty good at. He had good striking. Good range management. He's just, a tall, lanky guy. He's a good striker. Adam Fugitt, he's not terrible, but, he's kind of the guy that they feed to prospects. Just got badly KO'd by Islam Dulatov. Had some losses before that. I think he lost to Mike Malott. He's not terrible, but I don't think he's at the level of, anywhere below the welterweight bottom feeders. I think he's UFC caliber, but he's right about at that range, and that's it. I think Ty Miller's going to have a pretty easy time with him on the feet. I think he'll be able to keep this standing as well. So I'm going to go with Ty Miller getting this one done. I think he's going to get it done by decision. Maybe Adam Fugitt takes a round. Maybe he is able to have some success in the wrestling or something. But I don't see him winning this fight. He's 10-5, not a great record. Ty Miller, he is pretty green in the sport with only 7 fights, with 6 of them being a win, 1 being a no contest. So he hasn't really been tested. But he does have a win over what's his name? It's the guy that fought Bison Susarkayev. He has a win over him on the regional scene. So Eric Nolan, that's what it is. So that's an impressive win because Eric Nolan looked good against Susarkayev. So Ty Miller's skilled, got good stand-up, got good range management. I think he'll be able to coast his way to a win here. I'll go 30-27 decision for Ty Miller. We'll move on to the second fight on the card, Josh Hockett versus Denzel Freeman. I think Hockett's going to get this one done in pretty dominant fashion. Denzel Freeman, he debuted not long ago. Forget what card it was on, but it's another debuting heavyweight, and it was a shitty fight. Denzel Freeman looked technically fairly skilled. He wasn't bad out there necessarily, but it was just a super low output fight. Just kind of Denzel Freeman was just hammering leg kicks. He was like grunting really loud every time too, and it wasn't a very impressive performance. It was very lackluster. Didn't show a lot in that fight. Versus Josh Hockett, who in his debut against something Jimenez, I think Max Jimenez or something like that. It was a BJJ guy. Very, very high accolades in BJJ, which, doesn't always translate over to the sport. We've seen that time and time again. Guys come over with little BJJ experience, and they out-grapple guys who are, world pedigree BJJ guys. But so that doesn't really matter too much. But either way, he dispatched of him very quickly, got him out of there with a first-round TKO. It was pretty dominant. He also had a dominant win on the Contender Series, and he's a guy that the UFC is trying to promote because he's kind of like Chael Sonnen, like Colby Covington. He likes his puns. He likes his scripted one-liners. He's a funny dude. He's entertaining on the mic, so he'll give the fans a good moment. And I think he'll have the chance to do that because I think he's going to get a win over Denzel Freeman. Freeman's striking looked solid in his last fight, but I know pretty much nothing outside of that fight. So I think Hockett, with his wrestling experience, also his football experience, played for the San Francisco 49ers. I think he's going to be able to get Denzel Freeman down, and I think he's going to hammer his way to a ground and pound TKO win. I'll say round 2. Maybe round 1's a little hairy. Maybe he's getting outstruck a little bit, and then he's able to get the wrestling going. And I'll say he'll get the finish in round 2 by ground and pound TKO. We'll move on to Michael Johnson versus Alexander Hernandez. This one I'm having a really tough time with because Michael Johnson, he's incredibly skilled even at his age. Let's see, do they have his age on here? They don't. You think they would. Showing the tail of the tape, but they don't. In his late 30s though, an older guy, Alexander Hernandez, not too young in the sport as well. He had a run early in his career at 155 where he beat Beneil Dariush on that run. He had another couple wins, and then he ran into Donald Cerrone. And then he went down to 45, had a pretty tough time down there as well, didn't get much success. But now he's kind of had a career resurgence, coming off a win over Chase Hooper by round 1 knockout. And Michael Johnson, he's also coming off a very impressive performance, an upset win over Daniel Zellhuber. I'm having a tough time with this one because I think Michael Johnson he's better striker on the feet. He's technically better. He's also a lot quicker. Michael Johnson has some of the fastest hands in the UFC. He's very good. But Alexander Hernandez, he has that nuclear power. He's a big, stocky guy, which we've seen Michael Johnson have problems with. Even after having some success, he lost to Carlos Diego Ferreira by overhand. Right overhand, it caught him, put him out cold. Same thing with Josh Emmett. He got knocked out by that same shot down at 145. So, Alexander Hernandez has, I think, the power, which Michael Johnson has struggled with at times in the past. And Michael Johnson's a little bit more technically gifted, a little quicker. So this is a tough one. Maybe Alexander Hernandez can implement some grappling. He's a big, stocky guy. This is a tough one. I'm really 50-50 on this one, and the odds are close. At first, it was a pretty wide margin with Alexander Hernandez being a pretty lengthy favorite, but now it's started to come back to close to even. So I'm having a tough time with this one. I'm going to go with Alexander Hernandez getting it done by knockout. I'll say in round 2. I'm kind of biting my tongue while saying that, but I think Michael Johnson's going to be having some success, beating him to the punch, outstriking him. And I think Alexander Hernandez is going to find his shot and land a big bomb on Michael Johnson and put him out, maybe follow up with some ground and pound shots to finish the fight. But yeah, I think Alexander Hernandez, he's going to be losing, and then he's going to find the knockout shot. That's my prediction for this fight. So we'll move on. Alex Perez, Charles Johnson. I have Charles Johnson winning this fight pretty comfortably. Alex Perez isn't bad. He's been kind of a staple of the top 10 at flyweight for a long time. He's turned a lot of guys away, and he's lost to some of the guys that have risen to the top of the division. But I think Charles Johnson's really good. His striking is really slick. He's got great stand-up. He's so good at using his range, just finding shots from way far out. He caught Loner Kavanaugh with that big uppercut, or I think it was a big right hook, which Loner Kavanaugh had his hands down, thought he was safe, kind of just leaned out of range and got clipped on the chin. Same with Joshua Van, a big lunging uppercut. He's so good at using his length to his advantage, and really surprising these flyweights with how long he can reach them. Alex Perez, he has that kind of tight, coiled up style. He throws big hooks and stuff. Got a big knockout over Mateusz Nicolau with it, who's also a rangier guy. But I think I'm going to pick Charles Johnson to win this one, and I think I'm going to say late TKO. I think the length. I think he's going to use that at his advantage. I think he's going to stick him with the jab, with the straight shots down the middle. I think he's going to find that home for the uppercut that we talked about that he got on Joshua Van. And, I think Alex Perez is going to start getting a little bit more desperate as this fight goes on. And I think Charles Johnson is going to find a volume TKO. I'll say in round 3, I think he gets it done. We'll move on to Nikita Krylov versus Modestas Bukauskas. I think Modestas Bukauskas is going to win this one. And, frankly, it's hard to pick Krylov against any good striker right now. Because he is so defensively irresponsible. He leaves himself so open to getting hit, to getting countered, just rushes in like a wild man. We saw it against Dominic Reyes, got clipped by a pullback counter, put out cold. His fight against Bogdan Guskov just got a little too reckless, threw a low kick and dropped his hands and got clobbered by an overhand, and then finished with ground and pound shots. And I think Modestas Bukauskas, he's a big rangy guy. He actually has less reach than Krylov, which is weird because I feel like Bukauskas. I feel like when I look at him, he has long, crazy long arms, but I guess not. They're pretty normal length. But still, I think he's going to find his shots. I think he's going to find the shot that puts Krylov down. I'll say in round 1, I think he's going to get a round 1 knockout victory, which sucks because Krylov. There was one point going into that Dominic Reyes going into the Dominic Reyes fight after that long layoff he had. He was in a situation where he was 2-3 wins away from a title shot. I mean, he was right there. His name was in the mix, and now he's potentially going to be on a 3-fight KO losing streak, 3-4 fights, something like that. Let me check. Let's just click on his account real quick. Let's see. I feel like his last, it was Reyes and then Guskov. So it would only be a 3-fight losing streak, but I think it's going to be 3 KOs in a row, and I think he's going to lose his spot in the rankings, which sucks because he was a guy who was very highly touted at one point, but I think it's coming to an end. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was the time off. I know he at one point he had the Ukrainian flag. Now he has the Russian flag. That should tell you about why he was off for so long. A pretty ugly situation out there. Not sure if that really took away from his fighting career, but his defense has been piss poor since he's come back, and I think he's going to pay for it in this matchup against Bukauskas. We'll move on to Ateba Gutierrez. Nope, not. There we go. Scroll down. Ateba Gutierrez versus Andre Pulyaev. Speaking of round 1 knockouts, I think Ateba Gutierrez is going to put this guy out bad. Andre Pulyaev he's a bit of a step up from the last guys that Ateba Gutierrez fight, which it's been. Let's see, it's Jose Medina, terrible. Robert Valentin, terrible, and then Tristan Vines, which that guy was a victim for hire that night. That was not a fight that should have been made. They just wanted to keep a Teba Gutierrez on the card, and they give him some 170 pounder who had like 2 of his last 3 fights he had lost by KO. It was a ridiculous matchmaking, so I don't even put much stock into that matchup. One thing I did take away from that matchup, though, which might give me a little bit of hope for Puliaev, is that there was one moment in the fight against Tristan Vines where he was able to get to a Teba Gutierrez's hips and get his hands locked around the waist, and he was in on a double leg, but he just didn't have anywhere near enough strength to get Gutierrez down. He ended up getting TKO'd. But Andre Puliaev, he is a middleweight. He's a bigger guy. He's a lot bigger than Tristan Vines. I think there's a chance that he might be able to implement the grappling, but I think he's going to be a little bit too timid in this fight. And Teba Gutierrez, he's a very imposing fighter, very powerful, very dangerous. He's skilled. He has that Sambo background. He's got very good striking. It's not like he's just some brawler. He wouldn't be able to make it this far in middleweight if he just swung like a wild man. That was it. He's got skill. He's a very good fighter. And the odds show that. I think this is a no-brainer of a pick. I think Teba Gutierrez is going to get this one done by round 1 KO. And maybe then he'll find a jump up in the rankings. Then we can maybe start having some discussions about, okay, maybe this guy beats him if he's fighting like a top 15 guy. Right now, fighting guys at Puliaev's level, I mean, this is just a mismatch. Teba Gutierrez is going to blow through him pretty easily. We'll move on. I want to look at something real quick while we have this visual right here. My face cam's probably blocking it. I can't quite see it, but minus 1,400 Umar Nurmagomedov against Deiveson Figueiredo. He is a bigger favorite than Teba Gutierrez versus Andre Puliaev. What are we doing? I know Figgy's he's old now. Had a really poor performance against Corey Sandhagen where he got out-grappled and he ended up tearing his knee. And then he had that pretty lackluster fight against Montel Jackson. But this is still one of the best 135ers in the world. Former flyweight champion. Nukes for hands. He's got good counter grappling. Like I just don't get the odds. This isn't like Umar Nurmagomedov being fed this or given some bottom feeder. Like I don't even think he was this big of a favorite against that Kazakh guy in his debut, whatever his name was, the guy who just fought Alexander Topuria. I don't even think Umar was that big of a favorite against him. And Umar was, a top 15 fighter at the time, fighting a guy in his debut. Now he's going up against Deiveson, and they have him as this wide of a favorite. I don't get it. I think he's going to win. I think he's going to control Figgy on the ground. I think he's going to grapple him and kind of mush him into the canvas for 15 minutes. I think it's going to be one of those fights. Maybe Figgy threatens some arm bars or tries to troll like he was in the Sandhagen fight and pull leg locks. I don't know what he was doing in that Sandhagen fight. I think he was going into it with an injury. So hopefully he doesn't have that same game plan. But he's a guy you can't really count out against anybody because of his power and because of how well-rounded he is. I think Nurmagomedov's going to win. I think he's going to win a 30-27 decision. But I want to hit home how ridiculous those odds are. Also, 5'8 versus 5'5. Umar's going to be towering over him, so he's going to be a little bit harder to hit for Deiveson compared to some of his other opponents. I think Figgy might get a little desperate, start overswinging. Umar's going to get on a takedown, and once he does, it's going to be hard for Figgy to get back up, as it is for anyone at bantamweight. Umar is very, very tough. He's one of the best bantamweights in the world. I would say top 3 behind Merab and Piotr Jan. So I think it's going to be a tough night for Figgy, but really the only thing with this is just how crazy the odds were. I just wanted to really hit that home, but I'll go Umar 30-27 decision, boring fight, I think, incoming again. Arnold Allen versus Jean Silva won't be a boring fight. I hate this. I hate saying this. I don't want these words to leave my mouth, but I got Jean Silva winning by round 1 knockout because I don't like Jean Silva. If you've watched my awards video, you would know that him losing to Diego Lopez was my favorite hate watch, my favorite moment of last year. I was so happy with that outcome, and I like Arnold Allen. He's a fun guy. He's got a great style, very cool on the mic. Not cool as in like smooth trash talker like Conor McGregor or anything. He's got the tism, but yeah, he's very likable. He's a lovable guy, Arnold Allen. Everybody loves Arnold Allen. But I think he's going to get put out. I think he's going to get put out in round 1 by Jean Silva. And I have a handful of reasons for that. Number 1, Jean Silva. I think he's arguably the most dynamic striker at 145. His striking is so clean. It's so good. He was doing so good against Diego Lopez in round 2 before getting caught, which that was on him for getting too wild. And Arnold Allen has the potential to punish him for getting too wild. But I think he's going to be a little bit more composed in this fight. I think there's a lot of animosity going into this matchup. I think he's going to be a lot more composed, and I think last fight's going to be a learning experience for him. So I don't think he's going to get too wild like he did last time. And Arnold, also, you can fact check me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I saw somewhere that all of Jean Silva's UFC wins, minus the Contender Series win against Kevin Vallejos, all of them have come against southpaws, and that's what Arnold Allen is. He is a southpaw. And another thing too to consider, Jean Silva's one of his most dangerous weapons. Spinning elbow is one of them, but the other one is that lead check hook with his left hand. And Arnold Allen, he's a guy who really he blitzes in, he crashes in, and he gets really open to being hit. He kind of just swings wild shots. I think Jean Silva is an elite shot selector. I think he's going to find that check hook. I think he's going to put down Arnold Allen in round 1. I think he's going to finish him with ground and pound shots. I saw Arnold Allen get dropped by a jab from Movsar Evloev off Evloev's lead hand when he was coming in fighting all recklessly like that. So, a lot of guys have punished Arnold Allen for that, but I think Jean Silva has the power to really, really make him pay for it in this matchup. Give me Jean Silva round 1 knockout, unfortunately. We'll move on. Natalia Silva versus Rose Namajunas. This one's kind of just easy. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I think Natalia Silva is just going to style on her. I don't think any woman in this division can hang with her on the feet. She is so good fighting on the back foot. Her kicks are so nasty. Her hands are crazy fast. Rose is only getting older as well. I think she's going to have slowed down a little bit. Maybe she can implement the grappling, but I don't know. Nobody's able to do that against Natalia Silva. I think in 13 fights. I think she's on a 13-fight unbeaten streak. She is very, very good, and I think she's going to coast to a 30-27 win where she outstrikes Rose for 15 minutes, and it's going to be a masterclass. And she should be fighting for the title next at 125. We'll move on. Waldo Cortes-Acosta versus Dilu. This is a heart versus mind pick right here. This is a heart versus mind pick. Fuck it, I'm picking Derrick Lewis. I don't care. I'm picking Derrick Lewis, round 1 knockout. I don't care. I'm going with my heart. Derrick Lewis, one of my favorite fighters in the sport. If he's not one of your favorite fighters, then you're a loser. It's as simple as that. Waldo Cortes-Acosta is cool. Don't get me wrong. He's a cool guy as well. But no, I'm going with Waldo. He's going to win this fight. He is so good at fighting on the back foot and getting out of the way of big shots. He has that Golden Gloves boxing experience. He's got great head movement. He's got good defense. He did such a good job. I remember the Robelis Despain fight where he was just weaving out the way of shots, baiting him into throwing big shots, and then you'd shoot in, hold him down. I don't think he's going to grapple in this fight. I don't think it's going to be one of those, but I think he's going to catch Dilu with a counter shot when Derrick Lewis throws a big wild shot. Maybe the peptides that Derrick Lewis has been taking, maybe that'll be a game changer, and he's going to go out there and just brutalize Waldo. But Waldo's on a run right now. He's on a tear. This is going to be a round 1 knockout, I think, either way. I think either Dilu is going to catch him on the chin while Waldo's trying to weave out the way of big shots, or Waldo's going to catch him with a counter shot. And just based off what I've seen recently, I think I got to go with what I think is the more likely outcome, and that is Waldo Cortes-Acosta finding that counter shot, getting a KO with it. And yeah, we still love Dilu. Dilu's still the man. And we no matter what, we'll be seeing him fight on the White House card. Make no mistake about it. We'll move on. Sean O'Malley versus Song Yadong. I have Sean O'Malley getting this one done. I'll say pretty clear decision. I think his shot selection is so good. His range management is so good. His kicks up the middle, his straight shots down the middle, they're going to be a problem for Song Yadong. I think he's going to get peppered up on the feet for 15 minutes. I don't think Sean's going to find the KO shot. I think, Sean. Song is very durable. I don't think Yadong's going to be left stiff. I don't think he's going to be. I don't think Sean O'Malley will be able to make that happen. He's just not going to be able to stiffen Yadong, I don't think. So, but I do think he's going to be able to comfortably coast to a 30-27 decision win. I just think, his kicks are too nice. I think he's going to rip up that midsection of Song Yadong with the teep kicks up the middle. I think the knee could be a problem for Song Yadong because he likes to rush in and throw those big wild hooks. And doing that against a tall opponent with really good knees, that could be dangerous. And maybe Yadong gets put out by that. Maybe Yadong does in fact get left stiff. We don't know. But yeah, I think Song's very durable, and I think he's going to survive. He's been in some wars. He's fought some really, really good bantamweights, and he's come out of them without getting knocked out. I don't think he's ever been knocked out in his career. But if there's a guy to do it at 135, it would be Sean O'Malley with his shot selection. He's so good on the feet, man. I think he's a top 5, maybe a top 3 striker in the UFC. He is that good. I really think that highly of him. And I think there's a chance that maybe Song Yadong tries to mix in the grappling in this fight, tries to get him down to the mat. But I trust that Sean O'Malley's been working on that quite a bit. And I also don't think Song Yadong is quite the grappler Merab is. I don't think he has that pressure and the freestyle wrestling that Merab has. I don't think he's quite on that level. So I don't know. Maybe Song has a little bit of success, getting him down to the mat and having a little bit of control time. But I think for the most part, when this fight's on the feet, I think Sean O'Malley is going to be picking at him, and I think he's going to win a clear 30-27 decision. Move on to the main event: Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett. I'm going to go with Paddy. I think Paddy's going to bring home that interim belt. I think he is. Yeah, Paddy's going to win this one. I think he's going to get it done by round 2 submission. Justin Gaethje's a fish out of water on the ground. His jiu-jitsu defense is piss poor. Excuse me. I had to burp. Let me drink some water real quick. Paddy Pimblett's going to get this one done. Round 2 submission, I'm saying. Maybe there's a moment of hairiness in round 1. Gaethje might catch him. He might catch him on the chin. But like he says, Scousers don't get knocked out, lad. They don't. Well, Darren Till does. But Paddy Pimblett hasn't yet. And I think that's going to remain after this fight. I don't think he's going to get knocked out. He might get caught once or twice in round 1. Maybe there's a little bit of a moment where Gaethje has some success on the feet. But really, Paddy Pimblett, his range management has gotten really good. He's got really good kicks, especially up the middle. He's a big lightweight. I think he's going to be able to maintain that distance between him and Gaethje. I don't think he's going to trade with him in the pocket. And I think he's going to be patient and find his time to take a shot and get into the hips of Justin Gaethje and get him down. And once Gaethje's down on the mat, I think he's going to get in a lot of trouble. He is really open to being submitted. I mean, he was put in a dangerous position by Rafael Fiziev. And if Fiziev had good jiu-jitsu, he would have had an inverted triangle win over him in all likelihood. So, man, it's just hard to imagine if this fight goes to the ground, Gaethje being able to survive with Paddy Pimblett for long. Paddy's an elite grappler, man. I know people kind of overlook him because he's a goofball. He's a weird dude. He has a funny accent, and the Jared Gordon robbery. I think people still kind of shit on him for that. Also, he hasn't beat really anybody that good. I mean, look, all truth to it. Michael Chandler sucks. Michael Chandler is terrible. He's probably not even a top 25 lightweight in the world if I had to do my own custom rankings. Michael Chandler's terrible, but that was still a dominant, impressive performance over a very physically gifted fighter, someone who has a lot of power. So I think Paddy will come into this with the right game plan. I don't think he'll trade in the pocket with Gaethje. I think he'll manage the distance well. I think he'll get Gaethje down, and then I'm going to say in round 2, finds a submission victory over Justin Gaethje. We'll say rear naked choke. We'll say he gets to the back and chokes him out. That'll be my prediction. So thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate it. Apologies for the delay on this prediction video, but we're here. The video's out now. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Like and subscribe if you wouldn't mind. And I will be back for the recap video when this card's done. See ya.